That's what I can't wait for. Okay. But we talked about that in the orphan train, so I don't want to get in deep depth with that too much, but we're going to talk about that just a tiny bit. We're going to talk about things I told you guys about the promised land on this map. We're going to talk about a lot. Matter of fact, let me just go in and present some things to you guys. I was going to get over here in the chat box more, but I'm ready to get going. This is a cool video here. Okay. All right. I am a little bit organized tonight. You guys will be proud of me. Just know that I am still a toddler in the YouTube stage. So I'm still trying to learn things. Without further ado, here's this map I want you guys to see that I have presented for you guys. And yes, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to show you every single word of this map. We're going to read it in detail, and I'm going to identify exactly what each one of these cryptic little messages are on this $500-some map from the 1500s. Once again, that I want you to see. I think it's 1500s. It might be the 19. I think it might even be the 1900s. We're going to dig into it. I've got all the information pulled up, but it's so much. Okay. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen this map. Let me see your chat box here and see if anybody seen this. Awesome. Cool. Well, this is the Paul Bunyan, the pictorial map of the United States depicting some of his deeds and exploits. Okay. And this is talking about Paul Bunyan. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit. We're also, once again, I want to do a little backtracking. I want you guys to know about the maps that I pulled up yesterday. You know, I did a little bit more digging because I saw live. I didn't even realize until I presented in front of you guys that we saw literally where I said the great river Euphrates that dried up in the Dead Sea and all that area that I've been trying to say you guys was the old world. We actually saw where it had the Red Sea on a map. Well, I found another one I showed to my Facebook followers today too. So I want to show you guys that. This was the one we talked about live. And you can see down there, I got it circled where it says the Gulf of California or Red Sea. And then I found this one today as well on another map. Check this out. Here's another one where it has California here with the Red Sea or Gulf of California right here on it. Okay. So I thought that was pretty neat. So we're going to be diving into that along with, once again, maybe some more of these. I want to remind you guys of some of these maps as I'm flipping through some things here. We talked about also the Leviathans, and we've talked about the beasts in the oceans. I do want to just kind of drop a little thing in there about what I truly believe with that stuff. Okay. I pointed out on this channel that we've been through this 3 different ages. Okay. We've been through the time of the flood. We've been through the time of Christ coming back. And he said he literally divided the land too. But when I say the time of the flood, you got to realize the splitting of the land mentioned was the time of Peleg. It's right there in the word. It said, I'll pull it up because I don't want people to think that I'm just pulling stuff out of nowhere. So I'm going to pull it up and share it with you guys. Here we go. I don't ever want you guys to think that I'm just blowing steam or whatever that saying is. Okay. Screen share is coming. Hold on 1 second. Boop, boop, and boom. Okay. Let's get in the word right here. Okay. Peleg. All I gotta do is just literally type in Peleg. I want to encourage you guys to do this too. Okay. If you ever want to know something about somebody, just type it in, see all the times it's mentioned in the Bible. Okay. Now here's where we're going to go to is Genesis. Look, see, here it goes. This is Genesis chapter 10. So you got to realize this is after the great flood. This is later. Okay. And it says, unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Okay. So that was one time when there was a splitting apart of a land that took place there. But then we've got the other point where when Christ came back, let me get back to when Christ came back, we talked about the nations. He said that he would have his foot straddled from the Mount of Olives and then over there. And he said he would split apart the land as well. And he said, I want you to flee to that canyon as you did in the days of Uzziel. And we'll talk about that as well, because that's important, because there's actually 3 different points in the Bible where he has people fleeing into a canyon that he creates for his people, which is pretty incredible, especially when you throw in what we talked about last night from Ezekiel. When Elijah was standing where? In Death Valley, and there was all the bones, but they weren't bones of bad people. They were the bones of his people. There was Israel first. Okay. And when he came back, he told them to tell them bones to stand up, and the bones started forming new bodies on them. But they didn't have life in them. So Elijah commanded the wind to blow the breath of God into them. And we talked about that too, where it would give them life and they would come back, dead bones alive, and the new bones coming to life. And that's at the end. That's when there's a purging going on. Burn this everything right off your bones. Okay. Tears in the wheat, thrashing. Okay. That's first death. Please understand, there will be those who will not taste death until the coming of the Son of Man. Okay? Everybody had to die. Even John, he said that. You remember when the disciples were in the room and Peter, he was pretty much told, hey, you're going to be stretched out in a way in which you don't want, and you're going to die and be humiliated. Okay? And which was a qualification for the two witnesses, by the way. And then he said, but wait, what about this man? Looking at the one he beloved, talking about John. And he was like, what is it to you if I want John to stay alive until I return? Well, see, just like the modern day churches today, they want to skip the until words. They said, until I return. And see, Peter took it as, oh, he's not going to die. And Yeshua was like, no, I didn't say that he wasn't going to die. I said, until I return. And he made that point clear. And that's why it's made clear in the following books where he says, word for word, there will be those who will not taste death. When? In that generation, the ones he was talking to, until they see the coming of the Son of Man. And then it says, this generation shall not pass until these things shall happen. Multiple times. You'd have to call Christ a liar to state otherwise. Okay? So, we talked about that, but my point was this was when him talking once again, splitting the nations apart, and you have all these bones coming in the valley. Okay. And once again, you got to realize that Elijah, this was a prophecy. Okay. Prophesy over those bones. Okay. With Elijah, these bones were in a valley, and they weren't bad people bones. They were his people's bones. And Elijah spoke life into them. Okay. Giving them life again to come back to life again. And that's where you come in at Revelation. Okay. And it gets into Revelation 20, actually, is where I want to get. Where you get to the great white throne judgment. And like I said, people say, why does this stuff matter? Well, it's important to know the order of events. Because he gives us the word to read, not to skip over and to pick apart. Okay. Once again, you got to understand the 1,000-year reign. Okay. Satan, the angels came down, bound Satan for 1,000 years. Then you have the 1,000-year reign. And then when the 1,000-year reign expires, Satan's loose from his prison, goes out to the four corners of the earth, which are what? Gog and Magog. Four quarters split in half. Four big continents split in half, Gog and Magog. We are Magog, Maga, make America great again. Babylon the great shall fall. And Gog is the synagogue of Satan, where he says that the Jews will be in that land and claim to be Jews, but are not, because it's all a sham. And we're going to get into that tonight as well with this Paul Bunyan map. Okay. So once again, this is when Satan's set loose for his final season. It's important to understand that during the 1,000-year reign, there was still death, sin, and all of that in there, meaning death and Hades was still present in the world. Okay. Because down here, death and Hades are cast into the lake of fire. Okay. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. You're reading it right there. Okay, have it highlighted for you. But right here, I want you to understand this part. Let's not even go there. The great white throne judgment, which takes place after the 1,000-year reign and after Satan's short season, that everybody likes to say that this takes place before the 1,000-year reign. But anyway, check this out. And I saw a great white throne and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and heaven fled away. Okay. And there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, great and small, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those books, which were written in the books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged, and every man according to their works. And death and hell, and you got to realize what hell is, okay? The heart of the earth. This is why now they bury you into the ground, okay? And this is why they burn you, turn you into ash, and throw you to dust into wind, to become dust into the earth again, which fulfills the prophecy made in the beginning of the Bible, from dust you came, from dust you shall return. That's why we don't die and just float around in space. Anyway, So death. It's important to understand that death is going to be in the world until after Satan's short season. Absolutely, is present during the 1,000-year reign. Got to realize the reason why there was peace on earth for a short time is because Satan was taken out of the world, not the demons and everything else, not sin. Satan was bound. He is the scapegoat, Azazel, who said he would take the blame for everyone. So he took the blame for all the fallen angels. That's why he was bound. That was prophesied in Enoch. Okay, so now, at the very end, death and hell are cast into the lake of fire, and Satan too. And guess who else? If your name's not written in the book of life, if Christ don't know your name. See, the thing is he says that you were written in the Lamb's book of life. People think that you have to be written in there now. Like you get written in there. No, you get blotted out. It says he knew you. Every strand on your hair, he knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. He knew how many was going to be up there. He created you. You didn't create him. It's important to know that. Now, he knew you, but then there's this, okay? Once you take on sin, you separate yourself. It's just how it is. He gives us rules and we break them. That's why when you're a kid, you feel guilty for stuff when you know you're not supposed to do it. Then you figure out why you have that feeling. It's not nothing like natural about it. It's pretty supernatural. Make sure your name's written in that book or you too will join death and hell. And guess who else? The devil. And that devil deceived them, was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are. You don't want to go with them. Don't follow the beast. Don't follow the false prophet. Follow Christ. Don't follow him for 1,000-year reign, because you got to realize 1,000-year reign's up here. We're right here. Don't have your hope in 1,000-year reign. Have your hope in Christ. How you think these people felt before? They were kind of scared. They were like, man, I really hope he comes back. But I know he did come on the cross and he said he'll be back. So they had a hope that we didn't have too. But you know what we have? Now we have the word of God in our hands. We have the full written Bible. Anyway, let's keep on going here. Whew. I could talk about that stuff all day long. So there's Revelation 20. Like I said, there's the end of this when the dead and the dirt give up their dead. Okay. Dry bones come back to life. So I can exit that one. We've talked about that one. Let me get back to the chat box a little bit. 87 of you guys. Cool. Make sure everything's going. All right. Sweet. You guys are doing well here. Got a lot of people. Sweet. All right, 86 of you. Make sure you go and hit that like button and the share button and the follow button, but I'm going to keep on going forward, okay? Now, for those that you don't know that are just joining us, we are indeed talking about this map tonight, which we're about to look into, okay? I think I'm still... Oh, man. Did I not screen share? I hope I screen shared that whole time, but I probably didn't. Anyway, I'm so sorry about that. I'm going to screen share moving forward right now. Now, here we are. So once again, I want to move forward with the Paul Bunyan map. Hoping you guys can see this. Awesome. Yes. Okay. So here's this map. First of all, I want you to see that this map is now selling for $575. This is drawn, painted, whatever, by R.D. Handy. If somebody wants to write this down and look at it for any other type of, I want to debunk this guy so bad stuff, pull it up yourself, research it. If you find out something different than what I'm telling you, please let me know in the chat box and also let everyone know. Okay. We are aware of 2 states of the map. Okay. There's one dated in 1935 at the bottom right corner. And then one with an extra imprint in red at the bottom right corner, published by R.D. Handy Duluth MN. So there's 2 different ones, but we're only looking at this one without the red print at the bottom. This is what we get. And this one's $575. So it's no telling how much the other one is with the fine red print at the bottom. So there's something to this map. This isn't, man, my hair is driving me crazy tonight. This is not just This is not just like your map you'll find on the back of a McDonald's box or something, like it looks like a kid's painting or coloring, thing. This is a big deal, this map, and I'm going to share with you why. I'm hoping, yes, I can make it full screen. Great. Um, let's see here. Here we go. So, I don't even know where to begin with this craziness. All right, so we talked about the orphan trains, okay? Well, that's the first thing we talked about when we talked about the stork. So we're going to go up in Maine and New York first. Okay, so here we are with the stork, and he's bringing in Paul Bunyan as a baby. Okay. Now, I want you to remember this map is dated in 1935. We just read that at the bottom. Find an older one. That'd be awesome. It's probably got red print at the bottom. I would love to find that one. But here's this one. Here's the stork sweating and crying or whatever he's got going on. I guess, man, I don't know if they're like, I don't know what that is. But anyway, bringing in Paul Bunyan. And if you look, it's almost like he has slits in his eyes. And why would they make them red? But anyway, so here's Paul Bunyan right here being brought in as a baby. Okay. Paul was born in the state. Now realize if he was born, why are they doing the orphan train thing in here to New York? Huh? Which New York State? You're going to see that's where he was sent to grow up down here. Okay. So why is having being brought in as the orphan train stork here and saying they was born here at this northeast United States where the orphan train kids were brought in, by the way, but via boats. See, here's your boats out here. Paul was born in the state of Maine, and the stork was in the state of exhaustion. Now, you go from here to over here. Now, look at this. Now, all of a sudden, Paul's back out here in the ocean. This is him a little bit older, and you see the sunken ships out here? Ooh. Paul was anchored in his cradle off the coast of Maine. This is him anchored in his cradle off the coast of Maine. 7 warships were sunk trying to awaken him. If you've been following along, oh my goodness, this is crazy to me. If you've been following along with my Godzilla Leviathan decode, you know that we've been talking about the warships. For example, don't you remember that only like 5 or 6 months ago, what happened out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? For some reason, the same day we launched 3 rockets from California, okay? Space Force Base and the NASA facility out there on California's coastline launched 3 rockets that day. I think it was August 9th or something like that. I pulled up all the dates and stuff on the decode in detail. That same day, there was warships out there. Not just warships. There were Russian warships. There was Chinese warships just sitting out there in the middle Pacific Ocean. And America got kind of worked up, so they sent some warships out there. But apparently, nothing happened. Okay, but those of you that have been following along with the Godzilla and the Pacific Rim decode on Facebook, you know what this is probably about. Okay, which is pretty nuts because the date I said that all started was when. Well, I said around the 1920s, 1930s, 1910s, right around Pearl Harbor, which was up to 1940. There was birth pains before that we've talked about in depth, which is pretty nuts. So we've talked about the sunken warships out here from trying to awaken him. Who are they trying to awaken? Well, we're going to get into who Paul Bunyan is in here a little bit, but I want to go through some of these things a little bit more with you, okay? Now let's go a little further down here before we get to what was an ox, but really looks to me like a bull. But anyway, an ox and bull look mighty similar to me. The blue bull, blue blood, serpent line, pure blood, Nephilim race, bull, Bel the bull. And we'll get to why it's Bel the bull, and it's just like Bel the dragon as well. So here we go. When Paul was 2 years old, he built the Niagara Falls. Now, this whole map, by the way, is you got to realize where this is coming from. I told you guys, if you've been following along this long and exhaustive decode we've been doing about how our forefathers rebuilt America, reclaimed things, and reshaped them into what they want them to be, and changed everything, and flipped the maps. And there was a big disaster. Something happened. We actually talked about what happened in 1833, which I can bring back up again tonight about the 200 plus thousand meteors that fell every hour for 2.5, 3 days straight in 1833. And we know a lot of crazy other stuff happened in 18. And that one literally scared people to death. Literally, people were having a heart attack when that was going on. And I told you guys when Satan was to be set loose, it said that he would snatch 1/3 of the stars down. If you do the math of 200,000 times 24 hours times 3, you tell me what number you get. It's a lot. Just like it prophesied when he'd be released. And we're going to read that scripture here in a little bit. Let me see if I can get my hair out of my face before it drives me insane. Woof, man. All right. Sweet. That's a little bit better. All right, here we go. Now, when Paul was 2 years old, he built the Niagara Falls so he could take a shower and a bath. Why? Well, remember, I told you guys, Paul Bunyan is a big old giant, and he has blue eyes as well. And he also, you got to realize that usually he's depicted with his checkerboard. Okay, and we know about the checkerboards, but the difference in the checkerboard and this one was tainted with blood. Paul Bunyan has the blood spilt checkered board, red and black instead of white and black. Okay, the cover up. So anyway, when Paul was 2 years old, he built the Niagara Falls so he could take a shower and a bath. And here he is over here showering and taking a bath. Okay, now let's go a little further and look at this crazy thing with what I was just telling you. This is amazing. I call it like confirmation. And realize this is an expensive map people pay a lot of money for. This pointer is correct, except for the 3 years that Paul turned the world around. So the north was south and the south was north, meaning when Paul came, he changed everything, and this is now correct. Let's keep on going a little further. This is nuts to me. Atlantis Ocean. This says Atlantic, but some of you guys have been following along, and you know indeed that if you actually, I don't think I've even shared this on YouTube yet about how I feel about Atlantis. Okay, you guys got to understand there was darkness over the face of the deep. You got to realize as above, so below, and it's really things existing as well. Like when we're going through spiritual battles on earth, there's a spiritual battle literally going on in the heavens, in the unseen realm. Okay, it talked about right there in the book of Joshua. Okay, so we also, there's things going on down below as well. Okay. And you read about that in the story of the rich man and Lazarus about what's happening beneath us. Well, was happening beneath us. Now it's only Hades because he emptied Abraham's bosom and took that up to the third heavens. That's why immediately upon his death, there was thunderings, there was lightnings, there was great earthquakes, the graves opened, the saints exited their tombs, they entered into that holy city, and many saw it. Okay. Word for word scripture, Matthew chapter 27. So that was him literally emptying Abraham's bosom, but he left the rich man down there in Hades. Because Hades was still there during the 1,000-year reign as well. You got to understand that. Death and Hades was still things. Those people that died during the 1,000-year reign, they had to have a place to go. They would either ascend to the heavens during that time, during the 1,000-year reign, just like who did? Well, the two witnesses. The two witnesses didn't stick around for a 1,000-year reign. The two witnesses, they got their heads cut off, and one of them was humiliated, just like we talked about with Peter. That's how to be prophesied. And their bodies were strung out for 3 days, and then God breathed life into their bones. Well, there you go. And the two witnesses came back to life, and where did they go? It says they were taken up into the heavens, to the third heavens. Okay, you got to understand also what took place. See, a lot of people think that, like I said, death was done away with. Satan is the scapegoat. That's why when you read Enoch, when you come across Azazel, it mentions him as being the scapegoat because he took the blame for all the angels. And then you get to the next chapter, he goes by another name, Gadriel, the one that led Eve astray in the garden. And that's how you're like, wait, but he's got a different name. Yes, there's 7 forms. Then there's Leviathan, the physical form. There's as above, so below. There's the great dragon in the heavens. That's the Drago star system. By star system, I mean like the heavenly angels that are doing their things, the luminaries, binding the Pleiades, releasing the Pleiades, binding things, loosening things, changing things. We don't know. They're angels. We're not. Okay. We're not created in the image of angels. We're created in the image of God. But that's happening. And as that's happening, things are happening on earth, and then things are happening beneath us too. See, there's a Satan in the heavens, but he takes different forms. That's why he took the shape of a charming serpent who could talk in the garden. Then he takes the form of Leviathan, wrath at the very end. He takes his monster form. That's the one he was at the beginning. See, God just takes the clock and spins it around. At first, there was darkness over the face of the deep. And we know that deep is indeed the morning. The morning is the darkness. That's the sad morning, Mourning. Satan is the morning star. Christ is the bright morning star. Remember, there's a greater and lesser light that was created at the beginning before the sun and the moon. People don't like to admit this, but it is what it is. Christ said, I am the light of the world. And see, when the light was brought in the world, that was the first time the word of God was spoken. When there was light. It says before that, there was darkness over the face of the deep, and there was emptiness, there was void. But he hovered over there, the Spirit of God. That's when God sent the Holy Spirit down. Was that his son? Nope. That was him sending him the Spirit down over the face of the deep. But then, guess what? After he separated everything, then he brought the light into the world. The first thing he brought into the world was indeed Satan, the darkness over the face of the deep. Okay? The heavens and the earth. And what was the earth? Well, the darkness over the face of the deep. He gave us a choice, an opportunity first. He was like, look, I love you so much that I'm going to give you a choice. I want you to choose to love me. I don't want to make you a robot where you pick me every day because I tell you to. I'm going to give you a choice. So first thing I'm going to do is create you a choice, but then I'm going to give you another choice, light, and it's going to be beautiful. Because this is going to give life. This is why the first thing really that was brought up was the plants and the trees and stuff. Well, that was brought up, and guess what was created the next day? The sun. See, that's the thing people don't realize. Do you know why he brought up the plants and the trees and stuff before he actually created the sun? Well, because Christ was the light in the world, and everything was created through Christ, not a sun in the sky. It was created through Christ, and he was the sustainer. He was the life of the world that the Father would create things through. You need to understand that. That's why everything was good through him. But then he brought man into the world. And I tell you what, we're selfish. Men rule the world, right? It's easy to say that as a man. It's men rule the world. Look at your presidents. Men rule the world. And I hate it. We're selfish, greedy. You know, in the beginning, God, he created man. And it could have been man and animal. And women, I love you to death, especially my wife. But it could have been man and animal. And you know what man did? Sat there and named every single one of those animals and loved it. But then at the end, he was still not happy. Nothing's ever enough for us men, is it? I watch my pregnant wife sometimes do things like I know she shouldn't be doing, man. And I go to try and help her, and she's just as hard-headed as I don't know what. She tells me, don't do it. And I'm like, I can't help it, and I got to. And then she gets mad at me for trying to help her. And it's tough. Like, women do so much sometimes, like men overlook it. And I hate it because here's the thing, too, though. Women, you do the same thing. We both do. That's why women, you were created from us. We're the same as far as that aspect. Nothing's ever enough for us. That's why we chase after sin and lust after things. And that's why he's always called us to repentance ever since he created us. Nothing's ever enough. But anyway, the darkness that was over the face of the deep is where you get the term Atlas. The face of Atlas. Shoo! The face of Atlas comes from that, okay? And the face of Atlas was Pangea, the landmass that was brought up, dirt. See, people are like, Earth was a planet. No, the only time Earth is in the Bible is when he brought up Earth, dirt from the ground from which we are created. And now these new agers are like, oh, Mother Earth, because they want to blaspheme everything. No, he created us from dirt. He brought up the earth, the dirt, the ground beneath our feet that separates us from the waters of the deep. There's a reason why we can't survive at the bottom of the ocean. Well, he separated us from that by bringing up the dirt and the ground that we're made from. So that's Atlas. But guess what happened? There was the splitting of the land that took place at the time of Peleg. Okay. That is when I believe what the remnants of the Atlantean kingdom that was put back together, as far as like even Babylon and stuff. I believe that's when that split apart, the face of Atlas. And this is why scientists are baffled why you see things like this. I don't know how hard it is if you really pay attention to the word of God. You got this crazy obstruction out here, right? Watch this. Watch this. You ready? And people are like, oh my goodness, it almost looks like something wiped their hand right across the face and an eye. You literally got the eyebrow and you got the eyelid and you got the eyeball, like the eye. I mean, everything, even in depth, and it's dry, desolate now. Okay. This is the eye of what you want to call Ra / the face of the deep, the ground side version of Satan, because he did all these things, man. Got to realize that's what this is. This is the face of Atlas, and there's a reason why Atlas's kingdom got washed over here. You don't see it? It's really simple. Look at the wash. This is the face of Atlas. When the time of Peleg was divided, you can even see where it came down, and washed. And guess what else? If you coincidentally, there's the Bermuda Triangle in here, and they make everything look so dramatic. And guess what's see, like I said, the Bermuda, and guess what's directly beside it? Well, exactly the same amount of distance inward, you have what? You have Atlanta, Georgia. The same thing. You have that same eye type structure. Okay? That's the two sides of Atlas's face. And this is the sunken Atlantis kingdom out here. There are giant Bermuda pyramids that have been documented, literally emerald, made of straight emerald pyramids sunken out here, and a lot of other stuff. And what I believe is this. This is my point of bringing this up. I believe Leviathan is the guardian of this one. See, there was three splitting apart. That's why there's three triangles. There's the huge triangle of the Pacific. Why is it so big? Because this is Leviathan's lair, okay? This was the primordial deep. Then there's this triangle here, the Bermuda Triangle, which is not as big. It's a small area, which really goes here. They don't want Americans to go out here, and they have their same patrols out here. You can't go out here is the thing. And guess what? There's another one. When you scroll a little further, you see a smaller triangle. Where is that? Well, haven't you seen on globes where it says word for word that the land is not right? Well, here's the smaller Indian Triangle Ocean out here, where things still disappear and land just happens to appear. Okay, I believe Megalodon was a real thing that they've actually started seeing from Google Earth. I believe he's the guardian of this abyss, because there's three abysses that were open, and there was three cracks that opened the heart of the earth. So God created these Titan monsters. It's real. It's where they came from. Megalodon guards the Indian Ocean. And if you remember correctly, I shared with you guys the story about Egypt in my Godzilla one, where in Egypt during that time, it tells you word for word about the Kraken that crawled up on Egypt and ripped the roofs off of the buildings and put its arms in there and opened the doors so the critters and stuff could run into the homes, which is nuts. If you're interested in that, go to that Godzilla decode. And I believe the Kraken is indeed out here. Why? Well, haven't you seen all the tales and stuff of what's taking place out here? And like I say, why would Leviathan guard anything other than beside the promised land out here? I've been trying to tell you, that stuff's real. Leviathan is a real thing. The Kraken is a real thing. These are in the Bible. And like I say, the Megalodon, the shark, which is called the sea beast, is another real thing as well. Okay? So, like I said, I believe that, and that's how I feel about Atlas and his face, and it's split in the Atlantic Kingdom. That's why it's called the Atlantic Ocean. And you got Atlanta, Georgia on one side, and you literally got Atlas over there as well, and the Reshaping structure in Egypt. So, I think I'm about done with that part of that. I just want to make sure I close out things behind me. Let me just make sure we're good. 94, you guys, awesome. So, with all that being said, like I said, there was a great reset also we've been talking about, which brings me to my next point of this map. Okay, Paul Bunyan. Okay. Oh no, I don't know what I just did. Let's go a little further. Okay. Now, Now, I haven't figured out every single one of these, so if y'all figure it out, that's fine. Drop it in the comments. It's pretty cool, but I'm going to share with you guys some crazy things. This is where Paul would sit and smoke his pipe while he worked out his problems. These mountains are now called the Old Smokies, talking about the Old Smoky Mountains. But if you read over here, it tells you this. Where did these great Smoky Mountains come from that he's blowing smoke over? Well, you have to have explanations for the mud flood. You have to have explanations for stones being literally overturned on top of each other. You have to have explanations of land that looks like it's been done something with before of an ancient time. You have to have excuses for these pyramid looking structures that are covered by dirt and petrification. So, babe, in trying to dig out a field, a mouse dug a mammoth cave. So here's your explanation of the caves going into the earth. But watch this. Paul worked so fast, he seemed to throw dirt in two directions. Where is he throwing the dirt to? The same places that are piling up here that this one's throwing to. It's crazy how much this looks like HARP pushing clouds as well. Or look, this is a giant. And if we talked about the HARP program, you know about the vibrational frequencies and the pushing of the clouds across the earth as well. So let's go a little further. Okay. This one's nuts. Down here at the bottom, you have this giant down here fighting. Now, here's what it says. Paul fought a bell-tailed sea serpent. You got it. Who do we? I want to quiz you guys and see if you guys have been paying attention. And no, I didn't say, well, this is a form of Leviathan. I want you guys to think about Egypt. What did I say the name of this is? And it's also in reference to the serpent mounds. What is his name? Let's go. Let's see if you guys have been paying attention. I'll give you a hint. It starts with an A. Anyway, it's Apep. Okay, we talked about him from Egypt. The Kraken is the octopus. I was talking about Leviathan. It's another name for Leviathan in Egypt, and that is Apep, the sea serpent, which the serpent mounds over here were built after. Which brings me to my next point. By the way, I've been wanting to share with you guys this picture here, because I brought it up a couple times, and some people said they couldn't find it in the video, so I wanted to reshare it. Let me see if I can find it. Add to stage, remove this one. One sec. Where is it at? Oh, there we go. Now, oh man, it's not even clear. It's so clear on my computer every time. Anyway, I don't know why in the world. Maybe if I load it up a different way. What this is showing, first of all, the dry, desolate place of the West, but it's also all these dots and locations over here are discoveries of Egyptian artifacts and pyramids found and rubble found of pyramids in America. And if you notice, let me do it like this. If you notice here, most of these are along the Mississippi River, which I've been saying Memphis here is Memphis here is where Donald Trump's headquarters is, number one, but Memphis in Egypt was known to be right on the Nile. That's what I've been saying. This is the Nile here, and this is why all the headquarters of the pyramids and things have been found here. And once again, this is where I was trying to get at with this map. I've been talking about the Paul Bunyan map, because with that, remember, this is exactly where what? Well, look. This is where he's got the ox sitting here tossing out the mountains and him shoveling out the dirt and everything, covering things up, just like we were talking about. So they have an excuse for what? The pyramidal points of mountains and remnants of giants and everything else that they had to come with an excuse for. Okay, so let's move on forward here. Let's see. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so here's him fighting who? It's not just Apep with his eyes and oh my everything. Okay, it's not just Apep. He's got a bell on him. Now you got to realize, like I said, there are different forms of Satan. I've been trying to tell people that. Okay, There's also different forms of the Antichrist as well. Lucifer being the name of one of those. Okay, and Osiris and Nimrod and Gilgamesh and Tammuz, if you want to be specific. We can go on and on and on. Thor, because there's Thor and on Odin. There's Hercules and Zeus. There's it goes on and on and on and on and on. We've talked about it too much, but this right here is like Baal the dragon. I think there's an overlay. I'm seeing someone say. Sorry about that. Man, I've probably just confused a lot of people again. Back to this map, I want to show you again. This here is Baal the dragon, with his bell on the end. Okay. So make sure we're still good here. Good. Now, next point is this. Let's move on a little further here, because I can't wait to get over to that promised land coast and show you what I found over there. Here on this $585 map is you have, okay, you have the whole point of Paul Bunyan. Whole point of Paul Bunyan was he was known for being a giant with a giant axe. Tell me, why would you need a giant with a giant axe and you have this figure that is specifically known to have a giant axe? Why would he cut little itty bitty pine trees with a big giant axe like that? If his breath and everything is so big, it could supposedly blow wind and pulses over this and toss mountains around and stuff like that. Why would he need a big axe? Well, because of the biblical trees that are found all over the United States. I want to go in and squish this. Let me see if it'll just pull it up through this. I'm going to type Wyoming because I love the ones I saw in Wyoming. Actually, let's just see in general, because I'm curious if they're getting bold here. Yeah, of course. Devil's Tower, and you can't deny some of these things. People are like, no, that was something else. No, there's too much to deny. Okay, you see this? This is a smaller one. You see that, and then you see that. Okay, and I'm not just talking about Devil's Tower in Wyoming. That's why I didn't really want to type in Wyoming, because it limits it to that. It wants you to look at that. But look at all these. Okay, and then you find things like this. It literally looks just like a giant axe on top of a cut tree. Then you find old cut down trees, and we're going to talk about some big trees tonight as well. But you see stuff like this all over the place. Cool. And I want you to start looking for stuff like this, because I mean, hundreds. It was nuts out there, and right around New Mexico, and I mean, right coming across Texas into Oklahoma. All those places was nuts as soon as the mountains started appearing and stuff. It was crazy, some of the things I saw out there. And I mean, look at this, guys. This one's pretty crazy. Me and my family stood around a tree, like a sequoia tree, redwood trees. We're going to be talking about that as well. But that's why you would need a giant axe to cut down giant biblical trees. Okay, to have an excuse is my whole point. To have an excuse to tell people, hey, no, this is all fairy tale stuff. It's just a big old guy and his blue ox, and it was a fairy tale. That's just a mountain over there. Let's keep on going. So here we go again. Now, another point I wanted to bring up with the promised land, another qualification for America being the promised land, I don't know why I forgot, is the big deal in the Bible about hot springs. Hot springs are brought up not just in the New Testament and the fact that they literally, some people worshiped hot springs, but also you have in the New Testament and in the Old Testament about the hot springs. Well, they have to have that in here too. Paul's men cooled their axes in water. This caused the hot springs. Okay, so here we go again. Let's go a little further. These are the famous Bunyan Mountains. Okay, we're going to get in why they're called the Bunyan Mountains and why he's called Paul Bunyan in a minute. That were torn down to make room for the prairies. If you look up the word Bunyan, you get this. Surname Bunyan, meaning in order. Bunyan, what does your surname mean? The surname Bunyan is an Anglo-Saxon. It's important to understand what Anglo-Saxon mean. First, you got Anglo, and you get English, and then you get the English language. English language, language of the fallen angels, the language of Babylon. English, Anglo-Saxon, which is where? Well, that's indeed where England is, and also where what? Well, the Hitler's perfect race. Hitler's super race. Well, the Norwegians and the Scandinavians and the Icelands and all those people from the serpent seed line area of the Orb Borealis, which I've been telling you guys about, which you can Look out, the snake eating its tail. I hate this thing. But anyway, I've pointed out way too many times to even get back into that. But let's go with this. That's where Anglo-Saxon is where I've been telling you guys, where you have Italy and all that stuff. So, and it is derived, and that's what I've been saying. That's the synagogue of Satan. That's where they went and implanted a fake place and a fake people, and they are claiming to be Jews, but they are not. Gog and synagogue and the bad, wicked serpent land there. Okay, and they have everything switched. So here we go a little further. And it is derived from the medieval personal name Bunyan. I guess you just say Bunyan again, which it is itself derived from the Old English pre-7th century bunya, meaning a reed. Therefore, Bunyan could be interpreted as, you guys know where this is going, dweller by the reeds. The name would have been used as a form of identification for people living in or near marsh or similar reed. See, it's got to have that in it. Similar reed-filled terrains. It could also denote someone who worked with reeds in a trading like thrashing. The surname first surfaced, this is nuts to me, in Bedfordshire country records in the 13th century, right there between the 13th and 15th. We've been talking about all the mishappenings between there. Many variations of the name exist, including Bunyan, and it's all Bunyan and me. My point is this, let's look at this reeds, because every one of these are different types, but they have to include reeds. Well, let's look at the history of reeds. Before I get to that, it's important to understand the prophecy at the beginning of the Bible about him biting your heel. Well, don't you know he will bite your heel and you will crush his head? Okay. Don't you know that every time your child is born here in America and probably everywhere else in the world, they have to get a heel prick test? And what do they prick your heel with? Well, a hollow reed / now it's a needle. Okay, a sterilized needle to inject a what? Or either to eject the blood. Either injecting or ejecting blood or inputting something into the bloodstream. That is what a hollow reed is for. And it's strange, God created bats, rats, and cats and snakes to all have the fangs. Those fangs are literal hollow reeds. Those reeds have poison that can go into those hollow reeds into someone. And it's crazy if you read about Satan, he's the Lord of the fiddles. That's why the devil went down to Georgia and he was looking for a soul to steal and he was playing his little fiddle. Well, the fiddle is actually a translation of pipes. So it's actually Satan, Lord of the pipes. And this is why you have the Pied Piper blowing his pipe, leading the mice down the road. What is a pipe? Well, a pipe is also a hollow reed. Well, a hollow reed, once again, is how the venom injects into the person. And you got it. This is why, indeed, the World Trade Center itself today looks like something I'm going to tell you without even saying it because I don't want to get banned off YouTube. I'll let you figure it out yourself. I have people like Donnie up here that are probably knows where this is going. Let's go down here. Let's look at the World Trade Center. Some people are like, I didn't think the World Trade Center was even a real thing anymore. I had somebody say that the other day, and I mean, I'm not picking on them. I really don't think by anybody to think I'm picking. Man. All right, here we go. If you haven't put together what this place really looks like yet, your eyes are closed. Watch this. I need you to think about the doctor's office. And what do they use? Well, this is indeed a hollow reed. And a what? Well, like I said, this is nothing more than what they're using right now to inject the serpent seed into the venom. Into the person. That is indeed the hollow reed of the world right here. This is where he has taken and implanted the mixing of the iron and clay. In case you didn't know what the mixing of the iron and clay was, well, the mixing of iron and clay is because we are the clay made by the potter's hand, and this is why you can take a magnet and literally stick it to yourself if you've taken one of the forms of the vaccine with the King Cobra venom wrapped in mRNA and also tightly wrapped in nanotechnology, which is metal, which is why you can take a magnet, stick it there. Now you're literally iron mixed with clay in these days. See, this is an important tool used by the devil and since the beginning of time. See, he poisoned that apple with perversion. That's why you have the Wicked Witch and every single movie offering the apple. That's why you also have the owl at the head of the class, which is the Ishtar owl, and you got to bring her an apple. Well, that's Eve being brought the apple at the front of the class. Eve is, I've been trying to tell you guys, that's why the Ishtar owl, which is found where? At the Bohemian Grove, which is the mother of all abominations, which I've been trying to tell you guys, which is the mother of the serpent line. That's why the Ishtar owl is worshipped, / the Semiramis owl, whichever you want to call, or if you want to call her a rebirth through Cleopatra, you can call her that. If you want to call her a rebirth through Kali, you can do that. You can just see the same. That's what I've been trying to tell people. I don't know why they limit Nephilims to men. That's such a crazy thing. Haven't you noticed all the women demons in the world too today? See, that I've told you guys about the moon child. The original moon child is Semiramis. That's why Ishtar, Isis, all of them are worshipped as the moon. Because once again, that's a moon child, the one that can give birth to Nephilims of pure blood, where a male Nephilim and a female Nephilim can produce a child. See, men don't understand this, but the phallus, the whole point of a phallus is a hollow reed. Your phallus is indeed a hollow reed. That's nothing more than what this and every other, this is why the English word created the word erected, building in America, Babylon looks like exactly what you think, man. Perverted. Whew. How you doing, folks? Let me check on you guys. 113 of you guys. Awesome. Let's see what we got to say. Indeed, the Apple and the iPhone. Isn't Trump a moonchild? Nope, you got to remember, Trump's spiritual advisor is a moonchild. Look into that rabbit hole if you get a chance. So let's keep on going. Yes, Lilith too, Medusa with her snakes coming out. I've been telling you guys, even Aramaic, which is the language Christ spoke, and they also found older Old Testament texts that come back as Aramaic than Hebrew, which, like I said, is funny because now they're saying Roman is Greek is the New Testament true language, but yet they find in older Aramaic even New Testament passages, which, like I say, puts John's writing right at the time I was telling you. And even they're finding Old Testament writings before Hebrew. It's like back then, just as it was in the days of Noah, they had the Hebrew language as a distraction covering up the Aramaic. Well, just like now, they have the Roman language covering up the Aramaic. You see what's happened there? And now we have the English language covering up the Aramaic. See how it happened? 3 different ages. They never change. Nothing changes. Now we're just in a shorter season, a shorter version. The perversion. So let's keep on going here. I don't want to get you guys lost. So that's where this is. Now that you know what Bunyan means, now you know why these are trees. What is a tree? A tree and a plant, they are also reeds. They take the water from the base and take it up the tree. So this is why these famous Bunyan Mountains, where? Well, exactly where I told you guys I started entering into the giant biblical trees as I was entering into the panhandle of Oklahoma and into Nevada, all those, I went the whole way across the United States. It was crazy. All these places, you see these biblical trees. What's right here on the map for you to see? And then you come over here a little further. This is nuts. Here, Paul Bunyan is with a moose. Remember, Paul Bunyan is a big man with a big axe. These are big trees, and this is a big moose. Because this is Paul Bunyan also creating the Grand Canyons. This is a canyon. That's a big man. That's a tool. That's not a little ditch. These are big trees. That's a big axe. This is a big moose. That's why he says this. I'll soon find out where you came from. Why? Because mooses are not known for here. Where are they known for? Well, they're known for being up by the biblical trees. But like I said, there was a mud flood and a washing and a shaking and a changing where it took all the animals and everything and whoop. And also, it's strange. When you look here at these rocks, they're stacked on top of each other. That's why if you go up there and I saw this myself, that's what I'm trying to get at. If you go up there to Utah and below by New Mexico and all those areas, you see stones just stacked up out of like nowhere. It's weird. It looks like a giant came and stacked up stones in a way in which they should not stack, that only a giant could do, to cover up things. It was a burial ground. That's what I've been trying to tell people. The Native Americans said themselves that there were giants then too. Well, God, I don't know why people act like there was only giants before the flood. It says there were giants in those days and thereafter. And then Christ even said, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. It's going to be the same thing now. They're hiding beneath you now is what's happening in the underground electric kingdom. Soon they're going to come up and have a show. I just hope people are ready for it. That's the whole point of this page. I'm trying to wake you up so that men's hearts will not fail them with fear, with lack of wisdom and understanding. Good wisdom and understanding. Goodly, godly. So like I said, here he is stacking up the stones in exactly the area I told you that would. The Rockies were built with dirt thrown this way when Paul was deepening the Mississippi. Like I said, this is him throwing dirt from here. He had to have an excuse for this. Egyptian dug Nile. Dug it from one side to the other. Now realize, let's backtrack so some of you guys understand. This is the life and story of the rebirth of America. 1900s / just when this one was recreated. Of the stork coming in and bringing birth from this way forward. This is the orphan trains. This is the movement of the creation of the world. This is, like I said, Christ of the Columbias. Christ of the Columbias, Christopher Columbia being who? Lucy the light bearer, who was Lucifer, who had his thing cut off and became Lucy, Diana. Anyway, so here we go. That's where this life came from and moving across. But like I said, we're going to get into some crazy banana sandwiches out here in just a second. In just a second. It's going to be crazy. So here he is over here, still stacking these things over here where you see literal, like pyramid looking structures. You can go look at them yourself. And they look like things have just been buried. Almost like the Native Americans were telling the truth when they had giants burying giants as their giant graveyard. Buried by giants. So there's their excuse for that. Like, hey, I'm acknowledging this. Okay, so Paul logged off the Dakotas using an axe head tied to a rope for the job. Meaning this, it took a big axe to cut down those trees up there at North, there was a bug, at North Wyoming, where you got the Devil's Tower, and up north by North and South Dakota. It took a real big axe, not just an axe, but when you swing one like this, I don't know if you guys saw that video of the India people that were using one of those flexible axes to do double the work. He needed a big one for those big old devil towers up there. So, this is an upside down mountain that Paul logged off a real job. Like I said, the flat tops of the mountains. Well, you got to understand, in the days of Noah, he sent the angels to cut down the biblical trees before the flood, just as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. He sent him to cut down those biblical trees in those days. And this is why those big giant biblical tree stumps look flat as mess on top too. And some of them I pointed out look like literal mountains turned upside down, like they were just dumped. And then they got the little dust poured on top of them. So, let's look a little further. Okay, now we're going to get to the crazy stuff. And this Grand Canyon is important because, like I said, now we're over in the Promised Land area, and we're over here by Sin City, Sodom and Gomorrah. We're at the split of Abraham and Lot, and to the Promised Land as well, where the sacrifices were made and all of that stuff, and the great river Euphrates, all of that stuff, everything in the Promised Land of milk and honey and all that stuff that we've been discussing. But before I do that, I want to touch base on this. The point of the Salt Lakes. See, the Salt Lake cities are a big deal because you got to have a way to explain it to people. The fact that there was a great river that connected this coastline where you can see the trail still remains down to the coastline down here where the water's coming up still today, where there was a great river that brought the two in together. And if you bring a river from one ocean to another, it will indeed bring salt in. And when that great When that great Euphrates River dries up, it will indeed leave salt minerals scattered all in the bed of it. And it also proves Death Valley, by the way, is below sea level. And it's crazy, as dry as I don't know what. That means it was at one point the bottom of an ocean, being it's salt in there as well. It's not salt everywhere. People need to understand they blame everything on the flood. That's what's crazy. They blame everything on the flood, but realize that most of the salt is found over here, where this great river once ran through here that had to dry up, that we've been discussing. Okay? And it wasn't just a great river, Euphrates. What it was it literally had, I mean, it was huge. Look where Death Valley was. That's a deep part. That's where Death Valley is right now. That's a big part. That's thick now. Okay? Let's look here too. Same thing. Death Valley, where Death Valley is, all in here, all that area is indeed a big area of water. Was. For us, Salt Lake City, Utah. Oof. Okay? Another one, same thing. That's a big area there where the Death Valley is, literally. Death Valley's right there in the middle of that biggest part of that. Here is where Death Valley is. Dead Sea. Red Sea. Okay, so here we go. Let's keep on going a little further with this. Now, this is the crazy part. Okay? Remember I told you guys, Israel is a scattered people today. But when Christ came back, okay, you got to realize there was a taking of the Jews and the Gentiles at that time. The two olive trees. There was one to the Jews and one to the Gentiles. One of the churches were built on Peter. Okay? This was his church. Then there was Paul, who preached to the Gentiles. Peter to the Jews. Uh-oh, something's happening. Hold on one sec. Uh-oh. Let's see. All right. Overlay. I see. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Sorry about that. Now I'm going to get back to it. So here we are again. We know that this area here is, thank you, Melissa. We know that this area here is where I said the promised land is. And also where I told you guys we have Mount Zion, all of those places here, which is planted to the east of where? Well, over here, we have the promised land. Okay? The promised land here, I told you guys, is where his temple set, where his people set, that temple of that time. It's crazy. Look at what this says down here. When Paul went traveling, he just hitched Babe to the whole camp and hauled it, talking about the camp. And now you got a whole house and a camp of people. And hauled it to its new location. You got it, folks. This is what I've been telling you guys the whole time. He took the camp of the promised land that he got here with Babe and the blue ox and all the trees they've cut down. And they took it to its new location where they could move 3,000 miles in one day. I wonder what's 3,000 miles from there. Well, I know 2,500 miles is over here. And I wonder if 500 more miles will go over there, probably to where Israel sits today, maybe close. Pretty wild, huh? Now you want some more confirmation with things we've been talking about? Now, I told you guys, this is not just any ox, bull, calf. This here is a blue blood. It's blue, meaning this. The whole point of the blue blood race is they came from the water, first of all. But they're also copper-based, like an octopus and things like that. The unclean crustaceans as well. The blue blood creatures that come from the waters as well. Serpentines as well. People don't realize snakes are water snakes as well. Okay? The blue bloods, which come from the water, they didn't come from land as well. They were made from something completely different, made from the waters. That's why the first thing, the darkness over the face of deep, was created from the waters. Dry land had not been brought up yet. We were created from the dirt. That's why we were created in the image of God. Okay, something completely different. Angels were not created in the image of God. We were. Okay, so He had to go in here, and it says when Babe was sick, Paul caught a cow whale. What is a cow whale? That is a female whale. So he could feed the ox well milk. Why? Well, once again, from the sea. We are iron-based bloodline creatures. It's important to understand, though. Some bloodlines today have a little copper mixed in with their bloodline, and they wonder why. I'll let you figure out which bloodline that is. Okay, so I wanted to touch on that map tonight because it was a pretty big deal because it tied in a lot of stuff we've talked about tonight. But now I want to get into even more depth, which, like I say, there's all kinds of things you can keep going on up here, but I want to get into some other things. So I'm going to go on and clear this one out. We've talked about that one. I'm going to clear that one out. The history of syringes. Oh, yeah, this is where I want to get at with the hollow reeds once again. This is from the University of Queensland, Australia. Okay. A history of syringes and needles. Syringes were invented long before hypodermic needles. Their origins are found in Greek and Roman literature where there are descriptions of hollow reeds for the ritual of anointing the body with oil and as musical instruments. Well, that's what I was telling you. The hollow reed was used for syringes and instruments. That's why he's known as the Pied Piper, blowing his little pipe, calling in the rats. Okay? And also, he's known as the fiddle player in the hollow reed as well. And the syringe, the snake bite, the fang of the snake. Using a plunger to alter the pitch, changing the voice. Simple piston syringes for delivering ointments and creams for medical use were described by Gallion in. Okay, so we got. Oh, once again, back in Egypt. It's crazy. Everything we talk about kind of comes right together in front of our faces a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this. We're going to move on to the next thing. Now let's talk about the reclamation that happened. If I have time. Let me see how far along we are anyway. Oh, an hour and 18. Sure, I'll cover a few more things with you guys. Let's talk about the reclamation that happened. It's important to know that they started reclaiming things when, well, they started reclaiming things in the 1900s. To be exact, it was 1933. There's actually the act that was passed. The birth pains of this started in 1902. And what they wanted to do was transform. Now, this is important to understand, okay? This is on Oregon Encyclopedia. When Congress passed the National Reclamation, you see how the English language does that? See, people hear this word and they think that's talking about just dams. But see, I'm going to point out that it actually is an in plain sight English word, and it is indeed reclaiming. Taking something that was ours. Remember, Canaan, it was a cursed land. The promised land was once a cursed land. Joshua had to come into the promised land and fight the giants, had to defeat the giants, had to run all the wickedness out of there, all the bad, wicked, evil that was there. Rephaim, Nephilim, all of them. Had to run them out of there. It was an evil, wicked place. Meaning it was the wicked and the evils, the cursed land of those wicked peoples, the descendants of Ham. Went to Canaan. That's what I've been trying to tell people. And to the east of that, Shinar, well, that was Sin City, Sodom and Gomorrah, exactly where we saw the Tower of Babel. Right there by Utah, falling into it. And it's literally named the Tower of Babel. And it's got every single detail that we pointed out in last night's video, like kind of listed right there. It's pretty nuts. But see, that's where they come up with this word reclamation. To measure, set in motion the dramatic transformation of arid sections of America West to reclaim land for productive agricultural use. President Theodore Roosevelt, who's behind so much of the cover-ups in America, by the way. He's a big mastermind behind so much of what's been truly covered. Who signed a bill into law, believed that reclaiming arid lands would promote the agrarian ideals of Thomas Jefferson, sometimes referred to as new lands. See, once again, an in plain sight English word, new land, new world, new America, new France, new Spain, new world, new England, 1500s. New Land Reclamation Act. Its chief sponsor, Representative Francis Newlands of Nevada. That's his name. That's crazy. The legislation authorized the secure. Okay, so we got that. Let's go a little further there. You know where they started reclaiming land? You know where the first land they reclaimed is? You guys won't believe it. I've been telling you guys, Utah is Judah. Remember, there's Judah and Jerusalem. Okay. Now, Judah, Utah. Okay. It's strange. There's a Zion there. Zion Mountain. And you know what else is at Zion Mountain National Park? All the other mountains listed that surround the Great White Throne that surround the Zion Mountain there. I did a decode on I can't even remember which one it is. And I walked into this restaurant. I don't have it pulled up right now. Where I went into this restaurant at the top of Mount Zion Mountain, and it showed everything around there, and it was crazy. It had the altar mountain up there. It had every one of them mentioned, all surrounding Zion Mountain in Utah, Judah. Okay, so that is the first place they went out to reclaim was Utah. And then guess what? The first enrollment took place. We are the salt of the earth. Took place in Salt Lake City, Utah, on May 4th. Okay, I was trying to do some math in my head there. When 140 men were selected from among 4,000 applicants. I don't want to read too much of this because I know we're pushing time a little bit further tonight. Check this out. First thing they do, President Roosevelt approved the creation of 20 camps in the national forest of the state and one in Zion National Park. In addition, 5 state camps were authorized primarily to work on erosion. So here I am. Okay, this is where it gets nuts. Dang, I closed the map. Let me pull it back up. Fall. Let me see. There, pictorial map. Let me see if I can pull it back up. So this is where this comes in, okay? This is crazy. Guess what they have? We skipped right over it. Guess what they have in Utah? Where they could fit all these pictures. Look, this is him looking over this way and seeing these mountain range over here, which is Utah. Look, this is Johnny Inkslinger, the one who's drawing this picture, trying to discover section 37, 7, 8, 9, 10, the Holy Kingdom, the 10th and final kingdom. His surveying stakes were taken by Paul's men to be the ideal forest as he looks over at Zion National Park to set up a place for his men's camp. You can't make this stuff up, man. It's crazy to me. So once again, that's where this comes in 1933, 2 years before this map was created. They went to Zion National Park, and that's where they made their headquarters of recreating and reclaiming land. I want to make sure you guys hear that. Now, another place that they reclaimed that I happened to go to, which was incredible. I tell you, there were 2 favorite places in the world was Zion National Park. Me and my wife, we hit this point in our journey where literally it was like we got hit with a wad of bricks. And so we went and we parked up at Zion National Park and we sat there for 3 days straight at the top of that mountain. Number one, I met these 2 wonderful sisters that live at the bottom of the mountain, about 30 minutes down from Zion National Park. And they're the ones that told me to go there, which I'm so glad they did because I fell in love with the place so much that I wanted to live there. And it was incredible the things I saw. But that was probably the number 2 craziest thing I've ever seen, because another place I went was Zion National Park. I mean, no, not duh. Armstrong Redwood State National Reserve. Biggest trees in the whole world. Craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. But I'm going to blow your minds because I'm going to prove the millennial kingdom and the clouds of fire and the reset that took place by just looking at this place. Okay? Let's look at the Armstrong tree itself. Where is it at? Let's see. The tallest tree. That's not the one I want to see. Now, here we go. The oldest tree. Okay. Now remember, if the oldest tree here dates to this long, and then they find the oldest one there, as far as like, I don't know how to. I'll show you guys in a second. Let's remember when I told you guys that he came on the clouds of fire and melted all the kingdoms and started waging wars with all the kingdoms of the earth. Okay. Let's also think about when the dark ages were. Okay. From 450, literally 450 AD, year of the Lord, till 1450, when literally the printing press was developed and England came into power, and then the name Jesus was created in the English Bible and all that stuff. You got to understand how long ago that was. Well, the oldest tree there, the biggest tree, the oldest tree, Armstrong tree, is 1400 years old, meaning it came to life, it was reborn or whatever then. Okay, exactly in that time frame we were talking about. 310 feet tall is one of the trees there. Do you know what I saw there though? It was probably the craziest place I've ever seen as far as like emotional roller coaster. They have this one place that looks like an offering sacrificial pit, where it's this big dugout stone, old ancient stone place where it looks like, I mean, it's crazy. They have like tables and stuff. They have weddings and things like that there now, which is crazy. But I just felt all off, and I'll show you why I felt off. Do you guys remember in the Word of God when it said it has the blind man, and it says that um he was born blind for this, and Christ fully restored his vision, and the first thing he says is, I see men walking as trees. And he said that like that. He was able to see beyond and into the spiritual world as well. Fully open, eyes wide open. You got to understand this. There's more times also where it talks about the trees in Lebanon as well in your Bible. Okay. Don't you ever wonder where Lord of the Rings gets their trees that are walking and talking and doing things? They're huge trees. Don't you ever wonder where Harry Potter gets his walking trees and the things that take place in that? Don't you ever wonder where Wizard of Oz gets the walking trees and the moving trees? In the Garden of Eden, where the biggest trees would be? Ever wonder why the biggest trees in the world are found in California only? The sequoias and the redwoods. You ever wonder why in America they name it the redwood, being the biggest redwood tree in the world? They literally made a law in which allowed those takers of the Bohemian Grove to be able to pee on those trees publicly. So they could pee on the redwood of the tree, the stake, the pole that Christ died on. I'm not saying those. That's what I'm saying. It's representing his blood running down the tree, and they're able to pee on it because they've literally deceived his people. So, one thing I saw while I was there was this. You guys ever seen? Just watch this. I took this picture. Look at that thing, and I mean, look at it. Like, I want you guys to see what I see, and some of my people that I went and saw this too. You can see the nose. This is an Armstrong Park, and this isn't a tree. This is like hiding. You had to look for this tree. This tree's broken. You can see, and just kind of sitting here. It's looking over at the sacrificial pit, which is nuts. This thing looks petrified. You can see the lips here, even the bottom lip. You can see even the detail of the rings of his eyes. I'd pointed that out to somebody on a way clearer picture. I won't let me zoom in anymore. But the nose, you can see where the vril was ripped out of the eye as well recently. It's crazy. This is what I believe is the Armstrong tree, which is where Neil A., the first man to land on the moon, I believe it's where he got his vril from. It's from the Armstrong tree. That's why this looks like a fairly new ripping of this tree in the eye socket of this, meaning only the last maybe 100 of years, a hundred of years. And literally you can see the eye socket was ripped out of that thing. No, the eye of horse, eye of raw, that's a real thing. You want a masculine viril parasite, a feminine viril parasite, depends on which eye you want to go in. See, your face was created that way. You have a side for sensitivity and you have a side for do. Like, it's just how it is, how we were created. Sam Smith, for example, I think that's his name, that crazy guy that did that weird thing during the Super Bowl thing, or whenever, or VMAs, whatever it was, that wicked abomination stuff. He got the feminine side. Okay, that's why he covers up that eye. It is what it is. Then you got your manly man like The Rock. Well, he got the masculine side, obviously, but a little bit of feminine in there as well. But let's keep on going here. I took this picture myself. I thought it was very interesting in the Armstrong National Tree Park. So there's that. And once again, I want you to understand that this one's talking about just the Armstrong tree. But if you come down or up here, where is it at? Oh, yeah, it's up here. I see. It says this: the ancient coast redwood is the tallest living thing on our flat, stationary, non rotating Earth. These remarkable trees live to be 500 to 1,000 years old, which is baloney because they just pointed out one that was 1,500 years old, grow to a diameter of 12 to 16 feet, and stand from 200 to 250 feet tall, which is still baloney because there's one there they pointed out as well. I have a screen share going on. Sorry. I do that a lot. I'm still trying to get used to this. So once again, they have I want to show you guys this again. It says that the ancient coastal redwood is the tallest living tree on our planet slash flat stationary non-rotating Earth. These remarkable trees live to be 500 to 1,000 years old. Slash we pointed out one that's 1,500 years old. Grow to be 200, 250. Slash we pointed out one out down there that was 300 feet tall. Now they contradict everything by saying this. Once again, I believe Christ came on the clouds in 66 AD at the death of Paul and Peter, and at the same time they sacrificed the red heifer and the lamb right there at Pentecost, exactly as he said would happen, and exactly as was documented by Josephus, Tacitus, and Eusebius later as well, and everything else we've pointed out around that. That would be 2,000 years ago. Well, are you ready for this? Some trees survive to over 2,000 years. Now they're at the 2,000 mark, which puts us right to where the reset started and trees started to probably have to regrow again. From the ashes we will rise, and they will come back even stronger. So here we go. There's that. Let's move forward a little bit more. Fun fact, how did Zion National Park get its name? The park's name was originally Muckantuaweepa. I've been trying to figure out how I was going to say that all day long, and I just couldn't figure out. Meaning straight canyon. Remember, I told you guys about the canyon that had to open up, and for the people to go in there in the time of Azazel and also at the time of Christ, there was a canyon open up and had to go in there. Hence why the Grand Canyon is over there as well. Okay, leading right up to Mount Zion. Incredible. You can't make it up. It's just happening. It's right in front of us. Okay. So, and it says narrow and straight is the way to the kingdom. And it's crazy. It talks about Zion being the place where the kingdom will rest. And it's crazy. Those people had to go into the narrow canyon to get to the Mount Zion also, which is incredible. And now we've got the whole meaning of back then for a long time. See, it wasn't renamed Zion. See, it's the same way, straight canyon. And guess who renamed it Zion? Isaac, which means what? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Well, you got your. Anyway, let's keep on going. The name Zion originally comes from Isaac Behunin, a Mormon pioneer. Isaac, and we talked about some Mormons here in one of I think it was the movement of the orphan trains, settled to the Zion Canyon in 1863 near today's Zion Lodge, where he farmed tobacco, corn, and fruit trees. So, Buchanan once said of the area, oh yeah, this is crazy. A man can, and this was in 1863. Okay. Think about all the cathedrals, Tartarian buildings, everything that we have been discussing over the past couple of days. Tartarian buildings. By the way, fun fact I talked about on my Facebook page. It's weird how the barbarians literally reigned from 500 when they destroyed Rome, supposedly. From 500 through the Dark Ages to 1500 was the time of the barbarians. And it's weird. Barbarians is the same thing as Tartarians with the switch of one letter from a B to a T. I wonder if barbarians are Tartarians in the same reign for the 1,000 years of the barbarians with the Tartarians. And it's crazy. Tartarian comes from the word Tartarus, which comes from literally the Apollyon worship back then of the Abyssal, where he kept his titans and everything, slash Satan, imprisoned. It's weird. Tartarus, Tartaria is named after Tartarus, the prison of fallen angel. Who was the fallen angel who was bound for 1,000 years? Satan, which is where Tartaria comes from. which is why they decided to change it to barbarians. And they make you think they're so wicked and horrible because they ran out Rome and destroyed Rome. Nope, barbarians are Tartarians. Who would have thought? But check this out. Look what this guy said in 1863. A man can worship God among these great cathedrals? Why is he saying that over here? Why was he saying this in Zion in 1863? Why did he say this? A man can worship God among these great cathedrals as well as he can in any man-made church. What does he mean by that? This is Zion. That's how Zion National Park got its name. The word Zion itself originally comes from the Bible, referring to Mount Zion in ancient Israel. So, there's another one checked off our list. So, now my next point, okay? I'm not going to get into everything too much, okay? We're stretching on time, but I really want to get to this. My next point is the whole point of the Paul Bunyan map, okay? The whole reason why I brought up the map is this. See, they had to cover up for what happened. They had to cover up for the great apocalypse that took place. They had to cover up and explain the great reset. Because remember, if you read Revelation 12 in order, there's this, the woman giving birth to, and the dragon. Read this order and pay attention with me, guys, tonight as we dig into the word. Revelation chapter 12. Here we go. This is the mud flood of Tartaria, by the way, we're going to get to. And then a great wonder appeared in heaven. There was a woman who was clothed with the sun, and the moon was under her feet. She had a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out with pain because she was about to give birth. Then another wonder appeared in heaven. There was a giant red dragon there. Remember, as above, so below, everything in between. The dragon had 7 heads with a crown on each head. It also had 10 horns. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and threw them down to the earth. It stood in front of the woman who was ready to, and we talked about the stars getting thrown down also. It stood in front of the woman who was ready to give birth to the baby. It wanted to eat the woman's baby as soon as it was born. The woman gave birth to a son who would rule all the nations with an iron rod, and her child was taken up to God and his throne. Who is that? That is Christ, okay, who came to rule literally the nations with the iron rod. Well, he was taken up to the throne. Now watch this. The woman ran away to the desert, to a place that God had prepared for her in the wilderness for a long period of time, 1,260 days. That's a 3.5-year period for this as well. Then there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. The dragon and his angels fought back. And realized while this has happened, the woman was being taken care of. Well, remember, during the 1,000-year reign, which is crazy because to think about this, okay? Some things to think about as far as a timeline, okay? And I've been trying to get at this. There's a reason why AD is pronounced the year of the Lord, guys. Okay, he came here to be king and to be Lord and to reset and change everything. Okay, do you guys know that in 1070 exactly, AD 1070 exactly, is when we started, the Roman Catholic Church started actually going out and doing their crusades. Actually, I'll show you guys. I think I might have it. I saved in my phone. I'll probably have to do that in my next decode. I'll do the early crusades. And once again, that was like an early start to that started on one side, spread into another, until eventually it was able to overtake. Okay? It's weird that was 1070. And like I said, halfway through, the return of Christ was literally 70 AD. And once again, I want to tell you guys that people were being brought up to the heavens. Okay? I'm going to prove that to you right here. When Peter and Paul died, the 2 witnesses died, it said they didn't stick around on the earth. They came back to life. People were terrified and they ascended to the heavens, to that kingdom in the heavens. But as above, so below. When Christ is, and this is what the word parousia comes from, Christ left his throne at the right hand of the Father, his mercy seat. He was sent here, okay, to fight wars, okay, to make peace on earth and to bound Satan for 1,000 years, as prophesied in the Bible. Okay, he had to do that. But Perazia means he leaves his kingdom for a short visit to return back to his father at the right hand. Okay, and remember this: Christ said his kingdom is not of this world. He said it himself. So, the reason why Tartaria emerged is there was an earthly peace. Satan was taken out of the picture. Okay? There was still death, there was still Hades, and there was still sinners, but that was the whole point of the millennial kingdom is they were made to be priests, to go out and to minister and to serve. And if they neglect and reject the God and sin, it said their life would be cut short at 100, and they would be considered a sinner. Word right there in the Bible, and it said the old men would live out their days and die of good age. They had to also die. And where did they go? They go to sleep in the ground. That's why the great white throne judgment, it says those that are in the dirt in the ground, that's the second resurrection. That's when those that died on the earth will be given new life after the 1,000 years. Some were given the resurrected bodies before. For example, the resurrected saints that died at the time of Christ. So here we go again. So here we go. The dragon and its angels fought back, but they were not strong enough. The dragon and its angels lost their place and were thrown down out of heaven. This giant dragon is indeed that old serpent, that snake, and this is where it picks up also in Revelation 20, the one called the devil or Satan, exactly how Revelation 20 describes him, who leads the world into the wrong way. The dragon and his angels were thrown to the earth. Now, check this out. Then I heard a loud voice from heaven say, here we go. This is the rise of power and the kingdom of God. The victory and the power and the kingdom of God and the authority of his Messiah have come now. Okay? This is after this all happened. Watch. Now, this is the 1,000 year. These things have come because, now realize Satan was not killed here, guys. He was not killed here. He was thrown down. Now watch. The victory and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Messiah have come. These things have come because the accuser of his brothers and sisters has been thrown out. He is the one who accused them day and night before the Lord. And that is where Zechariah comes from. Watch this. There's only one time that there is an accusing going on, and that's not at Great White Throne Judgment. People are getting it confused. Great White Throne Judgment, Satan is tossed into the lake of fire already. There is no accusing going on there. Okay? You got to understand when this takes place. This is where, when you read Revelation 20, the period in between the 1,000 year reign, where the saints were given authority to judge during that time, that was the resurrected saints. Okay? They were the ones taken to the third heaven, New Jerusalem, the first resurrection. Okay? Then there will be those who will not be given life until after. So here we go. This is where Zechariah comes in. And this is why also they trick you with the New Language Bible. It's so simple to understand that Yeshua literally translates into Joshua and was mistranslated into Jesus. I hope you guys understand that. And the whole reason why they did it is so you won't piece together this, that Joshua also translates in Aramaic also is Yahshua, which is Yehoshua, which is where this big confusion of Yahusha and everything else is coming from. It's really a transliteration of Yeshua, which is Yehoshua, which was why they're saying Yahusha. I hate it because everybody's just seeking after the name of God. And he said they would. He says, in those days they will ponder on my name. Well, that's because we've been given the name of blasphemy. I hate what's happened. It's caused a lot of division, but it's caused a lot of people to dig in the word. Now watch how simple this is. And he showed me Joshua, the high priest, standing before the Lord of the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing. And this is the angel before the Lord, the same one that presented himself. You got to realize what that means. Okay. An angel of the Lord could mean Michael. It could mean Gabriel. It could mean any of one that present themselves of the Lord, just like the ones that present themselves to Enoch. Okay. The angel of the Lord presented himself to Enoch. That wasn't Christ or anything like that. That was an angel of the Lord. And it would identify him specifically in Enoch. There was two mentioned. So here we go. Watch this. And the Lord, and this is what I'm saying. This was Satan accusing Joshua. And this is also talking about the trial of the high priest in the heavens. This is what was going on, what was prophesied in Revelation. This is the visual of that in the heavens. Watch this. Now, he showed me Joshua the high priest standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. And the Lord said unto Satan, the Lord rebuke thee, O Satan, even the Lord hath chosen Jerusalem. Rebuke thee, is not this the brand plucked out of the fire? Now Joshua was clothed with filthy garments. Remember, he talks about exchanging the filthy rags for new, because he took on our sin and presented himself a holy sacrifice and was given the white garment. White as snow. That's what the Bible talks about. And stood before the angel, and he answered and spoke unto those that stood before him, saying, take away the filthy garments from him. And unto him he said, behold, I have caused thine iniquity to pass from thee, and I will clothe thee in change of raiment. And talking about garment. And I said, let them set a fair mitre upon his head. So they set a fair mitre upon his head and clothed him with garments. And the angel of the Lord stood by, and the angel of the Lord protested unto Joshua, saying, this is important. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, if thou wilt walk in my ways, and thou wilt keep my charge, and then thou shalt also judge my house. Well, who was given authority to judge? Who was the only one worthy? Christ was the one that was given the authority to come and judge. Joshua / the J didn't exist. It would have been a Y even during that time. Joshua the high priest was now given authority to do what? To judge in this point in time. Satan was accusing him. God rebuked him, gave Yeshua a new garment, called him the high priest, gave him authority to judge. See, the Catholic Church does not want you to know that the Trinity was created for this distraction. See, Christ is our high priest. He is the only way to the Father. He is the one standing at the right hand. Stephen looked up and he sees Christ standing at the right hand of God, literally. And then in Revelation, it says, who is worthy? Who's worthy to take the scroll? Well, Yeshua, you are worthy. That's why the Father hands the scroll to the Son in Revelation for him to go out and judge the world, literally, right here, like what we're reading right here. It's really, really simple, guys. You don't have to be twisted all in your pastor's teachings and stuff to just do this stuff for yourself. Joshua was given authority to go out and to judge the nations. Okay. And he is the Son of God. Okay. When Christ was baptized, it said the Spirit of the Lord, the Spirit of God. They inserted that word Lord to be Baal over the name of God many times, and Yeshua himself. Okay. The Spirit of the Lord entered into the Son of God. He said, this is my Son whom I am well pleased. Okay. And this is why at the end, when everything rolls up as a scroll, all the wickedness and Satan and the bad is purged out of the world, our holy God can leave the seventh heaven after all the heaven and earth flays away and come down with New Jerusalem to finally be with his people. And Yeshua will be able to walk amongst them while the Father is the light of the whole entire everything. He is the breath, the life, the power source, the most high supreme. Okay. Now let's check this out. The angel of the Lord protested unto Joshua, saying, thus saith the Lord of hosts, if thou wilt walk in my ways and will keep my charge, then thou shalt judge my house. What's my house? That's Israel and Jacob. Okay? And 2 olive trees, the 2 branches. And shalt also keep my courts, and I will give thee places to walk among these that stand by. Hear now, O Joshua the high priest, thou and thy fellows that sit before thee, that's the servants, by the way, ye who humbles himself will be where? At the right and left hand of Christ. Okay. For they are men wondered at. For behold, I will bring forth my servant the branch. For behold, the stone that I have laid before Joshua, the cornerstone, upon one stone shall be 7 eyes. This is where you get literally Yeshua when he presents himself in front of John and it scared him to death as the 7. You get this? And he was the one in the center, but he presented himself as 7 also. This is where this comes from as well. Okay? The 7 eyes, the 7 sides. Okay? And that's the 7 angels that present themselves before the Father on the throne. Also, if you want to tie that into Enoch. And see, Satan also has his 7 forms in front, which is envy, gluttony, and the 7 deadly sins rising. See, Christ is the embodiment of love and grace and truth and wrath on his side, but Satan is the opposite of all those things in his own wrath, which is Leviathan. He's formed an anti-version of everything. That's why Satan has created his own everything you can think of. So here we go again. And in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, shall ye call every man his neighbor under the vine and under the fig tree. I think I skipped some. For behold the sun. Okay, yeah. And I will engrave the graving thereof, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will remove the iniquity of the land that day. That's the purging out and leaving of the land. Okay. And once again, like I say, ties right in to when that 1,000-year reign and him being accused. And what happened right after this? This is where we talked about in Revelation. Satan and the war broke out. And once again, after that, done. Cast to the earth. Now, this is where this part comes in. You ready? After all that, and Satan accusing him up there in the heavens during that reign, okay, the heavenly reign, okay, look. And there was a war in heaven, and all that happened. We talked about this. This was the 1,000-year reign part of it. Now, check this out. After this period, guess what happens next? The dragon saw that he had been thrown down into the earth. So he chased the woman. Who's the woman? Well, that's the bride of Christ. That's what I've been trying to tell everyone. Had given birth to a child, Christ. Okay. We are indeed the body of Christ. I don't know why people think that we are a building built by the hands of man. That's not church. We are the body of Christ. We are the temple. Okay, he lives and resides in us. Stephen died just to make sure we knew that, and yet people forget that he died saying God does not dwell in a temple built by the hands of man. Okay? But the woman was given the 2 wings of a great eagle, and this is where America comes in, by the way. Then she could fly to her place that was prepared for her in the desert. Remember, I told you where that place was in the desert? Zion. There she would be taken care of for 3.5 years. There she would be away from the dragon. The dragon poured the water out of his mouth like a river. Here's the mud flood of Tartaria after Satan was released from his prison and came after chasing the woman. It poured the water toward the woman so that a flood would carry her away. But water mixed with earth makes mud. But the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed the river that came from the mouth of the dragon. Here's the mud flood that wiped out all that kingdom that was spread out everywhere. Then the dragon was very angry with the woman, and this is important to understand my proof of this. Watch this. It went away to make war. Here's the wars of Gog and Magog against her children, the camp of the saints. Her children are those who obey God's commands and the truth that Yeshua taught. The dragon stood on the seashore. Okay. So there's that. Oh, wait. Here's this. Here's the point. Look, this was a part I skipped over. They did not love their lives too much. They were not afraid of. Okay, yeah, let's read through the 1,000 reign part. I forgot all about reading through the 1,000-year part. I stopped because I got sidetracked. So I want to read this again. Here's what took place during 1,000-year reign. There was still death, but there was joy and laughter, and he wiped away their tears, and they were made saints to go out and try and minister to the lost people outside of the kingdom that are knocking. During the 1,000-year reign, when there's still work to be done, and still sun and moon and days and nights. Now check this out. You ready for this? The victory and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of the Messiah, 2 different things have come now. These things have come because the accuser of our brothers and sisters have been thrown out. See that? There you go. That means he's been tossed out. He can't be there doing the accusing anymore. They defeated him by the blood and sacrifice of the Lamb and by the message of God that they told people. They did not love their lives too much. They were not afraid of death. They didn't say anything about death wouldn't come, and they didn't say that they were enjoying their life. They did not love their lives too much, but they were not afraid of death because they knew their Savior was real during that time. There was true peace. So rejoice, you heavens, and all you who live there. That's what I'm trying to get at. There were saints who were taken up who finally can have a place that's not just Abraham's bosom in the heart of earth. Now they have New Jerusalem in the third heaven. When you die, your soul sleeps in the earth, okay? And we will awaken to New Jerusalem coming down from the sky. During that time, they woke up to what? Being taken up to New Jerusalem in the third heaven. Okay? It's all right there. But it will be a terrible. Now, this is important to know. So rejoice, you heavens, and all who live there. We were living there now. But this is where Gog and Magog in the camp of the saints who have a lot of doom and despair to look forward to is what we have to look forward to. But it will be terrible for the earth and the sea because the devil has gone down to you now. He is filled with anger because here we are now, guys, in the short season because he knows he doesn't have much time. And once again, lo and behold, mud flood, and here we are right now in today's world. I hope this makes sense to everybody. I want to double check and make sure it does. I'm trying my best to really, really. Oh, by the way, if you look up what the word Paul means, well, this is pretty interesting too. By the way, actually, no, I don't want to get into that. There's this other thing. I'm not even going into that tonight. Covered that. It's just covered that. Okay, we did talk about that and the tree stumps. Sweet. Now there's this. The last topic of tonight. Okay, is this. There was an apocalyptic reset that we've talked about so many times, okay? That's the whole reason why they created the Paul Bunyan map is for excuses of all the mishappenings across the United States that are evidence of the great disaster that took place, okay? So, I bring that up because of this. This is where the Hunger Games come from, okay? Listen to this story and see if it sounds familiar. Remember, there were 13 colonies when the United States were created. The first flag of the United States was not the American flag. It was this. This was America's first flag. And this is the Tower of Babel ascending to the heavens. This is the snake, the serpent. This is Quetzalcoatl. This is Apep. This is Leviathan. This is Satan, the dragon, Azazel, that great serpent, that great dragon ascending to the heavens as he tried to do with Babylon, Babel, Nineveh, and all the great kingdoms of old. Okay, this was our first flag of the United States. Don't tread on me when the 13 colonies were united together as one. Okay, so I want you guys to let me screen share again. Check out the Hunger Games. Remember, there was 13 colonies when they united together as one, but one of the colonies disappeared. It's called the Lost Colony. Google it. The Lost Colony was right here in North Carolina. They were the colony where everybody, good and bad, cowboys and Indians, not cowboys and Indians, pilgrims and Indians, all of them disappeared like that. Okay, so it made it only 12 districts. And that was because the 13th district rebelled and tried to go up against the capital. Now that you know our early history of America, let's see what they were trying to cover up. I'm going to read you guys the Hunger Games story. And remember, I talked about North Carolina and all that stuff and the locations of this stuff. So get ready for this. This is what we're going to close with tonight. The Hunger Games trilogy takes place in an unspecified future time in a dystopian post-apocalyptic nation, Panem. Okay, located in North America. The country consists of a wealthy capital city located in the Rocky Mountains, surrounded by 12, originally 13, poorer districts ruled by the capital. We know where the capital is. It's even right up there while we're talking about with this. The capital is lavishly rich and technologically advanced, but the districts are in varying states of poverty. Because of what? Because there was an apocalyptic event that happened. So they rounded everybody up into 13 districts. and they were poor and struggling. There was famine in the world. Why? Because, well, the great Euphrates River dried up, and that's why the reclamation of America had to start happening anyway. They had to start creating dams and ways to create other ways of energy because they couldn't figure out how to work the ether of the millennial kingdom. And then Nikola Tesla came up, and they found out they could make way more money off the electric kingdom of Satan, which is where the lightning bolt of Zeus comes from. The electric kingdom. See, Satan has the electric lightning bolt, and Christ has ether, literally the breath of God. That's why it says in Ezekiel, when it talks about Elijah, it says to have the wind blow over the bones and breathe life into them. We talked about last night. So anyway, back to the story. The capital is lavishly rich and technologically advanced, but the districts are in varying states of poverty. The trilogy's narrator and protagonist, Katniss Everdeen, lives in District 12, the poorest region of Panam, located in Appalachia, where people regularly die in starvation. As punishment for the past rebellion against the capital, called what? The Dark Ages. I meant the Dark Days. You see what happened there? Apparently, we rebelled against the dragon. We rebelled against the capital. What's the capital? Well, that's England/Rome/America and English itself. The beast is Rome. Okay. Rome is the capital still today, which is originally Enoch, the city of Bad Enoch, which is the city of Babylon, which is the city of Nineveh, which is the city of Sodom, which is all these things that has greatly become into being today. It's weird they say they rebelled during the dark days, just like the Dark Ages, in which the District 13 was destroyed. One boy and one girl from each of the 12 remaining districts between the ages of 12 and 18 had to be sacrificed or selected in lottery to compete in an annual pageant game called the Hunger Games. The games are a televised event in which the participants, called tributes, are forced to fight each other to death in dangerous public arena. The lone victor and their home district are they're rewarded with food, supplies, and riches. The purposes of the Hunger Games are to provide entertainment for the capital, to remind the districts of the capital's power and the lack remorse of the forgiveness for the failed rebellion and the current competitors' ancestors. So, I mean, they're really bold with it, all of it. Pretty crazy. And lastly, I want to talk about this eclipse, okay? For those of you that don't know, there's way too many. There's way too many coincidences. See, I don't believe in coincidences. I want you guys to look at these three maps, okay? On this one, I want you to look at all these places called Salem, in which the one from the one from 2017 crossed and the one from here crossed, all these places called Salem, in which this eclipse passes, and also this eclipse passed. But I also want you to look at all the places called Nineveh. Here's a few of them: Nineveh, Texas, Nineveh. But then I also want you guys, and we also know about Nineveh being known for Jonah and a repented city, a place that needed to repent so badly, okay? So badly, like we do too. And then I want you to pay attention to this, another, okay? It's strange when you think about the fault line of California and how it literally goes right here, and then you look at this and it's mirrored this way. And this is a fault line, and this is a dry, desolate, horrible, burnt down place, and this is a pretty place here now. So it's almost like we're finally getting X'd out, and I feel like all this over here is also going to turn to a dry, desolate, earthquake-filled, bad, rubble-filled place, just like that here coming up. Do I think it's going to happen that day of the eclipse? Probably not. I don't think so. I think the eclipse is going to be an eclipse. I do think that it's going to be spiritually the opening of some bad stuff pouring onto the earth. It's no coincidence that on top of these coincidences and the fact that this one passes right over the new crack, in 1981, a 1,700-mile crack across America was discovered using modern-day gravity mapping satellite data. It is referred to as the Montana to Florida lineament, or the Missouri gravity load. This crack seen in blue intersects a new Mandrid fault line, which is represented in black. What's interesting is that these fault lines are the path of the Great American Eclipse that takes place in August 21, 2017, and again in April 8th, 24. Boom, same crossing place. So yes, I believe this may be the start of some bad stuff going on. Do I think that you need to go on and plan on your calendars the end of the world happening on April 8th? I hope not. That's not what I'm saying whatsoever. I hope not because my daughter's due date's April 7th. I'll have a daughter being born April 7th, and lo and behold, this happened the 8th. I just think that's a lot of coincidences. So I want you guys to take it a little bit serious and repent. All of you, me too. Every one of us, we need to repent. That's what this whole thing is. It's like, hey, you know how to interpret the signs, but you don't love me. I want you to love him so much that you see these things, you don't think that it's a coincidence, and it causes you to indeed repent from the things that we have done as a nation and as a people. So that way we can be a prepared people to serve all the way and endure to the end. I need us all to really, really dig in and understand that one person, two people, three people, 10 people can't do this. We all need to take part in everything. If you can't speak, if you can't preach, if you can't teach, ponder on the word that he says when he says, "Don't you worry about what you're going to say or what you're going to do when you enter into those towns that want to kill you. For I will give you a voice to speak in a way in which the enemy cannot resist, in which they cannot resist. He'll give you a tongue of fire if you allow him." But if you can't do that, we'll take part in helping with the ministry. Find out people that need to hear the word and reach out to them and be like, hey, look, check this out. Listen to this. I can't share this with you, but there's this guy that can, or these people that can. There's your way of ministry. Or help your neighbor, for goodness sake. If you see somebody struggling and you're blessed so much, you got to ask yourself, why am I blessed so much? Am I blessed for myself? You're blessed to be a blessing. Bless somebody else. It's important to understand that. That's why everything in my life I try my best to do for my family and for everybody else to the point where it sucks everything out of my life. My wife's called me a pushover before in my life to the fact that I'm like really soft as far as, man, I'll let people walk all over me sometime. And I can't help it. It just is what it is. And I'm a big dude. Me and Braden measured myself the other day because somebody had asked me. I'm 6'7", apparently. It's crazy. I was 6'5" in high school. Apparently, I grew a little more. But me being a big man, you know, that has nothing to do with my heart. I tell you what, if you come up to me and say you're gonna like beat my face in or something stupid like that, do you know I truly would probably allow you to do so? Fun fact: I have a twin brother, and let me tell you, in our childhood, he wouldn't hesitate to punch me in the face. But I never could do it. I could never get myself to hit him back. My older brother too is a pastor as well. They would go hunting and shoot all these duck and deer and everything else, and I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. That's weird. I don't want to go kill an animal. They're like, well, don't you want to eat? Well, it's just weird, you know. Anyway, I'm rambling. It's been a long video, 2 hours. So, while I have 127 of you guys up here, and I think I've came to a good conclusion, a good closing point. I want to ask if you guys, please, 127 of you guys, if you could go on and hit that like button or thumbs down button, whichever one you feel right now. Go on and hit the share button. And if you want to, go on and subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome. Hit the notification bell and you can get an alert for my next posts and or videos. I am about to be posting a lot more on YouTube. I found out that you can post on it just like a Facebook page. So I'm going to be just as active on YouTube as I will be on Facebook here coming up. So be sure to hit that notification bell and subscription button. Also, make sure you guys get this out there. If you have somebody that's got questions about things or whatever, and I've covered them in the video, make sure you reach out to them and let them know there is answers out there. Okay, just takes a lot of digging sometimes. I have 267 messages or stuff I gotta look at here. I don't even know if I'm. There's no way I'm gonna get through all this. Um, yeah. See some sad stuff up here too. All right. I will go back and read these, but I'm really, really beat. But I want to say this, okay? I really appreciate 124 of you guys, however many was up here listening, taking a part in this whole ministry. It's been a kind of bumpy ride. I've had a lot of backlash on a lot of things over the past year because I've just been kind of extreme with a lot of it because I love it. It's just what it is. And in the Bible, that's called zealousness. It's completely fine. He wants you to be zealous. He wants you to be bold. Man, look at Elijah, what he did. Okay. Anyway, if you want to take part in this ministry whatsoever, take part by sharing it with your neighbors. If you can't do it like that, if you want to take part financially, this is all me and my family are doing now is just ministry online and via vehicle when we go out and start our road trips back up to go and do our mobile baptistry. If you would like to take part in donating to the ministry at all, that's completely up to you. No pressure whatsoever. I'm not doing this for money whatsoever. But I did share my links down in the description box if you would like to take a little burden away. That would be awesome. But I do love you guys so much, and I hope you enjoy these things. I have really poured a lot into this stuff. I think lately, I think I told you guys in the last week, it's been like 16 or 15 hours worth of videos I've been pouring into here because I love it. I love talking to you guys. I love seeing you guys active and talking to me too and digging in the word. I've had so many testimonies of people that have been on fire lately, reading their Bibles and finding things out and digging for truth. And that's what the whole point of this page was, to get you guys into the word. No problem, guys. I see a lot of thank yous and things like that.